All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is. Right here, right now, we got the legendary, the one and only living legend. We got DJ Grandmaster Scratch right here, live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I gotta say, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time this evening, man. You are such a legendary individual within the hip hop community, man. So it's definitely an honor to have you on the radio station airwaves this evening.
No, I appreciate the platform. Appreciate it, DJ Immortal.
But I know you're a very busy guy, man, so I'm going to dive right into this interview, man. And I actually want to take you back to the very beginning of your iconic career. And I have to ask, man, what actually made you decide to get into the music industry initially?
Well, I grew up in a household with a lot of music. My father played in the band. He was a percussionist and stuff like that. A lot of records, a lot of reel-to-reel. He went to Vietnam and came back with a lot of equipment. So I grew up around a lot of reverb and definitely the birth of hip-hop coming out of the Bronx, with Run DMC, Mantronics, Super Rhymes, Beastie Boys, I can go on and on as far as the Bay, the E40s, Too Short, Spice One, Max Rays, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And I have to ask, man, like obviously before you discovered hip hop, did you ever want to venture into the same footsteps as your father as being a percussionist?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, I still embrace, all genres of music, the Pete Escovedo, all the people my dad loved. I mean, I still embrace that to this day and try to dabble in that a little bit. You know what I mean? So, yeah, most definitely.
And also, as well, in the late 1980s, you actually met the one and only Master P. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a bit more about that. And of course, how did you initially get connected with Master P?
Yeah, man, it's a crazy story. Me and my buddy was DJs. I had my little crew called, HTP, the Hilltop Posse. It evolved from there, but, we was doing our thing trying to be like Run DMC. And we would always frequent these record stores and, as far as Leopold's, Pete and Uzi, Tower Records, all the record stores. So my partner, he noticed a little record store in our hood, and it happened to be Master P's record store, No Limit. And he was like, buying a couple cuts out of there, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, Master P told me he was looking for a DJ. And my partner was a good DJ. He was really, really good in sports. My homeboy, DJ Saint. You know what I'm saying? So he introduced me to P, you know what I mean? Because his confidence wasn't as high as mine. I was a little bit better with my turntablism. So that was where the connection started right there to my homeboy, DJ Saint. Please believe it. Yep.
And I gotta say as well, like, just being able to work alongside Master P at the very beginning of No Limit Records, man, must have just been phenomenal being able to watch and also witness that amazing empire just unfold before your eyes.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, I never thought he would take it that far. But, I mean, he had the ambition, you know what I mean? I see it in him when he first came to Richmond, you know what I mean? Having a store and, having a cash register. And, we didn't ever see that when we was younger. It would be all the stores I named for, Tower Records, Leopold, T.Z. Mosby. It wasn't never, you never see a black owner of those stores and stuff. So that was real impressive. And then, like I said, I knew a buddy, my partner K. Lou, that had a studio, you know what I mean? Because I was always trying to build and trying to be like all the people I admired. But one of my coworkers knew I was heading to the hip hop, so he's like, man, I'm going to show you this guy with a studio, my homeboy Marvin Webb. And I was really impressed. And like I said, a year later, I met Master P, see what he was doing. I'm like, okay, I like where you're going, but I got a little secret weapon over here. I knew K. Lou. So we went over there, and then we started recording. You know what I mean? So it worked out good with the chemistry because it was just, we had the same aspirations,
And also as well, man, you were actually a member of the Real Untouchables original group. I have to ask, man, can you tell our listeners a bit more about that? And of course, what's the story behind that group's formation?
Yeah, man, me and P, we did the What's the Deal tape with the Master P's rolling. We had a little slow song called Why You Do What You Do. And it had a song called No Limit, and then What's the Deal? Excuse me. Then we produced that tape. We hanging out in the store, brainstorming what we trying to do. NWA is bubbling up at that time. So we seeing their movement, and so me and Master P was like, Eric B. and Rakim or DJ and Jeff. That's what we were starting out to be. And then, we seen what they were doing over there in L.A., NWA. So we kind of started forming that. And, Big O was around, one of the main guys I met in the beginning. And we were just being there hanging out. And then I had my partner that was in my original crew, the Hilltop Posse, HTP Productions, my partner Chili D. So naturally I'm bringing him into the group. And then, this guy Chill was hanging out. He worked for 97. It was 94.1, I think it was, KPOO. And, he was hanging around the store. He's like, we had the radio voice. And then Big O's cousin was Magic Mark. Another little cat hanging out, trying to be a DJ, producer, whatever. And so we started trying to, put a group together. And then as we were recording, at K-Lou's, everything was going great. And, towards the end of the production, it was the first Untouchable tape. King George showed up a little bit at the end, His energy was good, but yeah, that's how it kind of all came together, just hanging out at the record store. We had a tape to show, and they were impressed with that. Just everybody wanted to be a part of it, you know what I mean?
And also as well, when you actually brought up What's the Deal a few moments ago, I was always wondering, man, like, what was it like just actually being able to implement your DJ technique on that song, on that project, man? Because honestly, that's one of my favorite songs that you guys actually put out back in the day.
That's crazy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got that record on my turntable right now, as a matter of fact. But it was a pleasure. I mean, with the way I always thought of production and me being the DJ, if the rapper said something, I would try to compliment it. So that's why, me being so deep in the hip-hop, I had that Ice-T song. He was like, what's the D-E-A-L? So I just kind of scratched that up, chopping it up kind of like you would do with a drum machine, but, with the D-E-A-L, with just bringing that crossfader in and out. And so, that was a whole evolution of the style that I was trying to bring to the table when me and Master P hooked up. It wouldn't continue to be like that where I'm always complimenting what the rapper's saying with my scratches and the samples and stuff.
And I gotta say as well, you definitely did your damn thing actually on that project, man. In my personal opinion, that project will ever be solidified within hip-hop.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. A lot of people don't know about that cut. That was the first project.
And I have to ask, man, because I used to have myself a cassette back in the day, but unfortunately I misplaced it during moves and whatnot. But I have to ask, is that tape still available, like, maybe in your archives? Do you ever think you might actually put that back out to be purchased? Because I know myself and a lot of other hip-hop fans would definitely love to snag their hands on a copy of that.
Yeah, man. It's the vinyl right here. I got a few copies, but like they're so valuable, it kind of remind me of maybe having Tupac's first project. Cause I didn't think Master P would take it that far, but it is in that arena, so it's kind of like I'm really delicate about that. You know what I mean? But I do got some archives. And a few vinyls also.
And also as well, man, back in the early days of No Limit, the legendary Sonia C actually handled a lot of business for you guys. I was wondering, man, what was it like having her in your corner? And of course, just working alongside her during, the early days of the legendary No Limit.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was all going kind of like as planned because he was a, business guy, trying to handle everything. And his wife was like the assistant. We eventually got a manager named Dan Riddick, but she was doing good. I mean, she had our Social Security numbers, and we didn't realize, how damaging that could be if it was like a manipulative person, with access to all your stuff. But she was really trying to be thorough and make sure we all was taken care of if it did get to that, cutting the check stage. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it didn't get to that point, because, it all went bad with a little bit of drama as far as, finishing the Untouchables project and then not having contracts signed. And we had a little meeting at my apartment. I lived in an area called White Cliff in Richmond, and I grew up right there in Hilltop. That's why I call my little company HCP Productions. I mean, Hilltop, it was really Hilltop Posse, originally, whatever. But, it just went all bad one afternoon when we was trying to sign these contracts. And, went all bad. One of my partners, Chili D, didn't really agree with it, and some of the Untouchables. But, at that point, I had invested money with Master P, so I was trying to be 50-50 and no limit at that point. Seeing his aspirations and how business-like he was, and he was educated going to the University of Houston, so I'm like, okay, this is a good start. And then I ended up getting a contract. I still got that contract to this day. Intentionally trying to be a part of 50-50 of No Limit Records. But I wasn't so business savvy, but I was business enough to get that contract, and we both got our signatures on it. And it's basically stating that, we're trying to go into this venture, to create a project, put it out there, recoup the money, and then create another project. That was number 2 was going to be the Untouchables. What's the deal was the first project. So that's the whole progression of music. You get the project, you get the money, sling it out the trunk, you put it back in, and you keep going. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I never recouped from that. But you know how the music business is. It's just a lot of shadiness. We was real young at that time, those young kids. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Everything happened for a reason. I don't really have no regrets because I sacrificed a lot of my music for my family. You know what I mean? But I'm still in it. But there's certain choices that you make, and different sacrifices. So I don't know.
Hey, but you know what? You're still, like a lot of fans say, man, you're still solidified within hip-hop history, man. You know what I mean? You actually were there at the beginning, and nobody can ever take that away from you, man, because you were also featured on the No Limit Chronicles series, Season 1, Episode 1, man, Nightmares and Dreams, and I remember that, man, because I actually ordered BET just to actually check that amazing series out, man, and I gotta ask, man, just sitting back, what was it like just seeing yourself actually in that show, like just looking back at your career so many years later?
Man, it was dope, man. It was like a dream come true. I got my little 15 minutes of fame, so a lot of people, I know, that respect me in the DJ world and the hip-hop, they was all giving me props. Even though they didn't say my name, I'll keep repeating that. That would have led to more investigation of DJ Grandmaster Scratch, but it was a good look. I wasn't mad at all. I was juiced. I was real juiced.
And I gotta ask, was that the only episode that you were actually featured on, or were you actually featured on other episodes throughout the continuation of the series?
Nah, it was just in the beginning. Because I was like the first soldier on the team. But I was trying to be a general, knowing the value of being an executive and, being a DJ since the early 80s and looking at the back of the records and seeing who the executive producer is. And, I'm looking at the producers, but I'm looking at who's making the money, that's why they call it the music business. But, it was great just, being a part of that chapter. But when we hooked up, things were moving so fast, it was just, and like I said, you never thought he would take it that far. But, that was a real good feeling to be on that No Limit Chronicles, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And the one last question I have before we move off the No Limit days, the one thing I've always wanted to know, man, what is one of your most fondest memories that you actually shared with Master P and No Limit Records back in the early days?
Man, just driving around. He would set up some interviews, and we would do interviews. I was kind of tripping that we was even doing these interviews, And the CNC Music Channel, we did like a little show, and Sonia and his sister in Germany, they had like a little group, and I was their DJ also, but just hanging out at the No Limit store, always dreaming about going to Hollywood, you know what I mean? Like, he would be like, me and GMS, we going to Hollywood, you know? He always had those dreams, you know what I mean? But I would be the one navigating in my little mini truck, and he had a couple little buckets. He was really struggling at that point, you know what I mean? Like the area I said I grew up in White Cliff, he ended up getting an apartment up there. And, you know, he at the store, little Romeo's around, you know, he's like 1 year old. Sometimes me and Master P would go to the mall. We hanging out, you know, he got his little sweat jacket with the Louis Vuitton stitch in it, and I got my little stuff on. We the rapper and the DJ, and sometimes we have a kid, and they'd be like, "Oh, you playing Daddy today?" Some of the girls would be saying that, but they was all attracted to him, and I'm like, "This is little Romeo that we." You know what I mean? I knew he was Romeo, but I'm saying I didn't know he was Romeo what he's going to be now. But, I mean, all that kind of shit, you know what I mean? Just hanging out, going to get food, and he asking for a drink, and he'd be like, "Man, let me get an orange drink." And I'd be like, "Man, it's orange." He's like, "Nah." But he never would change his swag, you know what I mean? He always kept the New Orleans, you know what I'm saying? Know you. So, yeah, that was a lot of good memories. I mean, yeah, when it went all bad, you know, with the contract, he tried to put out a little strap and shit, which was real disrespectful. That's kind of like how it came to an end. But, you know, I don't know. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Just, you learn and you grow. But I just say he had that kind of like bravado, like a Jay Prince or a Big U or whatever. You go to different cities and, you know, you got to get approval to do this and that. You know, he kind of had that kind of bravado way back then as a youngster. He kind of had that kind of swag because, I mean, the music industry is so ruthless that, you know, they're going to try to mess you over by any means necessary. So you got to get that kind of respect. You know what I mean? So he definitely earned that. That's why he's one of the most successful ones in the game, you know, as far as business.
And also as well, man, you are actually the owner and CEO of HTP Productions, man. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about your phenomenal company. And of course, what services do you actually offer to the general public?
Yeah, man, HTP Production was, like I said, part of around when I met Master P, and it's still rolling. You know what I mean? We got the studio. And then, you know, my DJing, I just launched a little barbecue thing where I got my little slinging slabs, little barbecue dinners and stuff like that. You can look at my Grandmaster Scratch on Instagram and see some of the little photos. But my son is a rapper also. He calls himself the Don Roddy. You know, he got a little hot song out called Little Honda Civic. You know what I mean? You can go to all the little streaming platforms and listen to that also, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm trying to keep it moving, man. Trying to be like P, like Puffy also, with all the little rap snacks and tennis shoes and the whole nine. We ain't just in one lane. We trying to, it's just inspiring, you know, seeing him launch different businesses and reinvent himself. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely motivational for us.
And also as well, man, you are actually the current DJ for Muse Art Showcase. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that company, and of course, how can our listeners actually come out and see you DJ live in person?
Yeah, Muse Art is another one of our babies. We showcase musical artists and artists that paint. You know what I mean? So we're looking to have something in the springtime, seeing how there's COVID, you know, a lot of people not vaccinated. It's real controversial, but I'm kind of up in the air about that too. But yeah, you know, once things get opened up, it's definitely going to be on. We have 4 shows from 2018, leading up to the pandemic. So, yeah, you know, we just got to be careful. It's just really dangerous right now.
I definitely agree with that. You know what I mean? A lot of venues are either not doing concerts, so they have a lot of extra measures actually put into play, man. So hopefully,
Yeah.
we us fans can actually come and see you scratch live in person very soon, man. Because I think I can speak on behalf of all the listeners, man. That this COVID thing's been going on for a long time, man. We definitely miss some live music.
Yeah. Man, you too. Yeah, all the fans. I mean, I can't wait to get back out there because I recently retired. Like I said, once we broke up with the Untouchables, I was already working at a job, and a lot of people don't know, but I got a pension now, so I'm still winning. You know what I mean? And DJing with no hating on nobody, but I mean, I'm still in this hip hop world, and it's just a blessing to be able to, be a part of it and going down this little history and being able to tell my story. So I definitely appreciate the platform, DJ Immortal. You feel me?
Hey, man, I greatly appreciate you just giving us a bit of your time this evening, man. But I gotta ask, man, because I know you just said you're DJing and whatnot on your free time, but I have to ask, man, like, what is next for yourself, DJ Grandmaster Scratch? Like, is there anything we missed? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the radio station airwaves this evening.
Yeah, man, my little son, he's like a little model figure. He's a basketball player. He got his little Remy, WYD. And my daughter, she got a natural bad girl, Riri. She got these natural hair kits. Riri is REREE. And then, like I said, the Slangin' Slabs barbecue. That's really going to be coming hard. I kind of sold out on Labor Day. So I just launched that, feel me? So, yeah, I'm really getting it in right now with a lot of valuable time that God blessed me with. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's going to be on. It's going to be on the pop.
But also as well, Grandmaster, this is the time, man, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just like a chance to give, like, shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, but most of all, man, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything DJ Grandmaster Scratch if they're not already doing so.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm at DJ Grandmaster Scratch on Instagram. You feel me? We got our Muzart Showcase, M-A-R, excuse me, M-U-Z-A-R-T. That's at Instagram also. Like I said, my son is Don Roddy with that little Honda Civic. Please believe it. He's on all the streaming lines right now. So, yeah, keep him out. And then look forward to some of that music coming in the springtime. We'll probably get a little Halloween gig coming up. I got a couple New Year's party offers, but like I said, I'm just picking and choosing because I'm trying to stay safe in this pandemic. You feel me?
I definitely hear you on that, man. It's better to play it safe than actually going out there and risking it all, man.
Yep. Yeah.
But I gotta say, Grandmaster Scratch, man, again, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time this evening and just coming on the 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM airwaves here in Canada, man. It definitely was an honor and definitely a privilege to welcome such a legendary, iconic hip-hop individual like yourself, man. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I don't know, in that contract aspect, if I have some legal help maybe out there in Canada with this contract, maybe I can recoup some of my funds too, just to put that out there. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, most definitely.
I got like a lot of literature that can help me out, change my life a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hey, if anyone's listening and you know paperwork and whatnot, make sure you hit up DJ Grandmaster Scratch. You never know; you could be a valid asset, and you could be some great help.
Yes, sir.
But I gotta say, Grandmaster Scratch, again, man, thank you so much, and definitely have yourself a wonderful night out there, man. And hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Most definitely, DJ Moore. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it as well, man. Thank you so much. I definitely have yourself a wonderful night.
Yep, you too. Peace out.